In 1 Corinthians chapter 10, Paul starts by recounting the history of their forefathers, how they were brought out of Egypt, how God led them through the wilderness, how they saw all the miracles that God performed, the parting of the Red Sea, the manna, everything, but still they kept on murmuring, their heart was hardened, and how out of all the multitude that came out of Egypt, only 2 adults entered the promised land. So he was telling the people here that they should flee from idolatry, because if God could punish the people that he brought out of Egypt, he will not hesitate to punish us also if we do idolatry. And he said about the food. You can go to the meat market and buy food, buy meat. Don't ask, where did this meat come from? Just buy it, bless it, cook it, eat it. And he said, if an unbeliever, someone who is not a Christian, invites you to their house for a meal, if you want to go, go. Sit at the table. Bless whatever food they put in front of you and eat it. Don't start asking questions. Where did this meat come from? Was it sacrificed to an idol? Was it this? Was it that? Just bless it and eat it, which is very difficult for me because I'm a fussy eater. So if you put food in front of me, which I can't instantly recognize, I tend to ask, what is it? What's inside it? I need to know. My husband will just eat it. He likes to try new food, but I don't. I even when we go on holidays, I eat what I'm familiar with. If there's a McDonald's, I go there because I know I can buy chips. I can buy fish fingers. So this would be really hard for me. But Paul is saying, don't ask questions. God created everything, all the animals. God created it. And in Genesis, he said it was good. Just eat. And then he's saying that when you eat and drink to God's glory. Anything you do, do it to the glory of God. He's saying, however, if somebody there at that unbeliever's house whispers to you, and this will be a fellow Christian, and says, but this meat was sacrificed to idol, he said, don't eat it. Not because idols are anything, they are nothing, they're just wood, but because of that brother, that sister's conscience. Because if you eat it, it's going to harm them. You need to think of your neighbor. So because of what that person has said, because maybe in their mind, these things are still real, because that was what they were worshiping before they came to Christ, and they haven't yet got rid of that. Because of that person, don't eat it. Just put it down and say thank you, and don't eat it for the conscience of that person who told you. He said, however, do not go into the temple to worship with them, with the pagans, and then eat the meat. He said you cannot participate in the Lord's Supper, by eating the flesh of Jesus, drinking the blood of Jesus, and then going into the temple and participating in the worshiping of the demons and devil, and then eating the meat. He draws the line at that. You don't need to go that far, because if you go into the temple, we know the idols is nothing, but the worshiping is something to them. Every movement is something. So you cannot join them and start waving your hands about and start saying some words, because the idols are nothing. The worshiping means something. So you are participating with demons, with the devil, and you cannot then come and participate with Jesus. And he says that there is no temptation that has befallen man that is unique, nothing new under the sun. So, and any temptation that you face, God will give you a chance to escape. So flee from any temptation. Once that route of escape comes, flee. If you don't flee, you wanted to fall into that temptation. Even Jesus was tempted, so we will all be tempted. But Jesus did not sin. God has given you that route of escape. a pastor told me a story. He said one of his pastor friends died. He died like about 6 months or so. And then his widow came to visit him one evening in the church office, and he was alone. He said when she came, she locked the office door and said, "Today you have to sleep with me. In this office, you have to sleep with me. Since your friend died 6 months ago, I've not had a man, and I've got the urge. You need to sleep with me." He said a short, quick prayer. And then he told her, "Okay, in fact, I also fancy you. I've been looking at you all this time. I really care for you, but we can't do it here. People will arrive soon. They will catch us in the act. So the best bet, you go home, go and prepare a meal. I will come later. And then after eating, then we can do whatever we want to do." And the woman was so happy. He said, "Okay, I will expect you." He said when the woman left and he locked the door, he knelt down and he thanked God for rescuing him. He forbade that woman for ever coming to meet him alone in the office. Anytime she says, "Pastor, I'm coming to see you," he will make sure there is a witness. Somebody will sit down there. They were never alone together until she stopped talking to him and he never saw her again. That is a way of escape. God put that wisdom in him at that time, and he was able to escape. This was the story he told me himself. I wasn't there, so I cannot corroborate it. But this is, a means of escape. There was a lady, a man took her, put her in his passenger seat, slammed the door. He walked round to the driver's seat and she still sat there. That was a route of escape for her. He walked around. He was alone. He didn't have a gun. He didn't have a weapon. And she sat there. Or he walked around, got into the driver's seat and started the car. She sat there. When he walked around, that's the time for her to open the door and flee. Flee from every temptation. So, and then Paul concludes that, think of your neighbor. Because the Corinthians keep on saying, everything is lawful. Everything is lawful. And Paul says, yeah, everything is lawful, but not everything is helpful. Not everything is necessary. You need to think about your neighbor. So if you are doing something which will cause your weaker brother or sister to stumble, don't do it. He said that's why in him, when he's with the Jews, he makes sure he doesn't offend them in any way. When he's with the Gentiles, when he's with the pagans, he makes sure he doesn't offend them in any way. Because at the end of the day, all we want is the salvation of that person. We don't want to cause anybody to stumble. We don't want to cause anybody to fail. So you should think of your brother. Even though things are lawful, you don't need to do it. Not when somebody else will see you and it will cause their faith to waver. So this is 1 Corinthians chapter 10. God bless you.